The afternoon sun filtered through the dusty windows of Martinez Auto Repair, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Sarah Chen wiped her hands on her coveralls and stretched her back, taking a moment to appreciate the quiet. At 26, she'd been working at the small garage for 3 years now, and she'd grown to love these peaceful Wednesday afternoons when business slowed down. She was just reaching for her water bottle when she heard it, a soft creaking sound from outside, followed by a child's voice. "Mom said there's a garage here. Maybe they can help." Sarah walked to the open bay door and looked out. A boy, perhaps 10 or 11 years old, sat in a wheelchair that had clearly seen better days. One wheel wobbled precariously, and the armrest hung at an odd angle. The child had sandy brown hair and bright eyes that looked up at her with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "Hello there," Sarah said gently, kneeling down to meet him at eye level. "I'm Sarah. What's your name?" "I'm Danny," the boy replied, his smile widening. "My wheelchair broke this morning. Mom's at work and I thought maybe someone here could fix it." Sarah's heart squeezed. She could see the independence in this child's eyes, the determination it must have taken to navigate here on his own. "Let's take a look," she said, moving behind the wheelchair to examine it more closely. The damage was significant. The wheel needed replacing. The armrest required welding, and the brake system was nearly shot. This wasn't a simple fix. It would take hours and parts they'd need to order. Sarah knew what her boss would say. Wheelchairs weren't their specialty, and they couldn't afford to work for free. But looking at Danny's hopeful face, Sarah made a different decision. "I can fix this," she said softly. "It'll take me a few hours, though. Do you have somewhere safe to wait?" Danny's face lit up. "Really? How much will it cost?" "I have—" He fumbled in his pocket and pulled out a crumpled $5 bill and some change. "I have $7.35. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, but she smiled. "You know what? That's exactly what it costs. But I'll need you to be my assistant. Can you hand me tools and keep me company while I work?" For the next 4 hours, Sarah worked on that wheelchair, with more care than she'd given any luxury car that had rolled through those doors. Danny chatted with her, telling her about school, about his mom who worked 2 jobs, about his dreams of becoming a teacher someday. "My dad left when I was little," Danny said matter-of-factly at one point. "Mom says he couldn't handle having a kid like me, but Mom says that's his loss, not mine." "Your mom is absolutely right," Sarah replied, tightening a bolt with extra vigor. "And you know what? You're going to do great things, Danny, I can tell." When she finally finished, the wheelchair rolled smooth and true. Sarah had even added some reflective tape she found in the supply closet, making it safer for evening travel. "Good as new," she announced. "Maybe even better." Danny tested it, rolling back and forth with pure joy on his face. "Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much." He carefully counted out his money and placed it in her hand. Sarah accepted it with ceremony, knowing how important it was for him to pay his own way. "You're very welcome, Danny. You come back if you ever need anything, okay?" She watched him roll away down the sidewalk, his head held high, and she felt something warm settle in her chest. Her boss would probably be irritated that she'd spent the afternoon on a $7 job, but some things mattered more than money. 3 days passed. Sarah had almost forgotten about the incident when a sleek black car pulled into the garage late Friday afternoon. She glanced up from the engine she was working on, expecting another routine job. Instead, a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out. He had kind eyes and an air of quiet authority. Sarah recognized the bearing of someone used to being in charge, though his expression was unusually soft. "Can I help you?" Sarah asked, wiping her hands. "Are you Sarah Chen?" the man asked. "Yes, that's me. I'm Michael Roberts." He extended his hand. "I believe you met my son Danny a few days ago." Sarah's breath caught. "Danny's your—" "I thought." "It's complicated," Michael said, and there was pain in his voice. "I was traveling for work when Danny was born. When I learned about his disability, I panicked. I left. It's the biggest regret of my life." He paused, collecting himself. "I've spent the last 5 years trying to make it right, trying to be the father he deserves. His mother and I share custody now, though it took time to rebuild that trust." Sarah stood quietly, letting him speak. "Danny told me what you did," Michael continued. how you spent hours fixing his wheelchair, how you treated him with such kindness and respect. He said you made him feel capable and valued. Do you know how rare that is? Sarah felt her cheeks warm. Anyone would have done the same. No, Michael said firmly. They wouldn't have. I've learned that the hard way. He looked around the garage at the modest equipment and aging building. I run a technology company. We recently decided to expand into mobility devices, wheelchairs, adaptive equipment, things that can change lives. I need someone who understands what really matters, someone who sees the person, not just the machine. Sarah blinked. I'm not sure I understand. I'm offering you a position, Michael said. Head of our new mobility division. You'd oversee design, testing, and community outreach. The salary is substantial, and you'd have the resources to help thousands of people like Danny. He named a figure that made Sarah's head spin. But I'm just a mechanic, Sarah protested. I don't have a fancy degree or... You have something better, Michael interrupted gently. You have compassion. You have integrity. And you have the practical skills to back it up. Everything else can be learned, he smiled. Besides, Danny insists you're the only one who can help us get it right. And I've learned to trust my son's judgment. He's wiser than I am. Sarah felt tears welling up. She thought about all the Dannys out there. All the kids and adults who needed equipment that worked, who deserved to be treated with dignity. When would I start? She asked softly. Michael's face broke into a genuine smile. Whenever you're ready. 2 months later, Sarah stood in a bright, modern workshop that still smelled of fresh paint. Prototype wheelchairs lined the walls, each one tested and refined based on feedback from actual users. Danny visited twice a week, her youngest consultant, offering insights that no engineer could provide. Michael had kept every promise. More than that, he'd become a friend. She'd watched him with Danny, seen the love and remorse and determination to do better. She'd met Danny's mother, a strong woman who'd built a life for her son against incredible odds, and who'd slowly, carefully allowed Michael back into their lives. You changed everything, you know, Michael told her one afternoon as they watched Danny test a new design. Not just for my company. For me. For us. I just fixed a wheelchair, Sarah said. No, Michael replied. You saw my son. Really saw him. You reminded me what matters. He paused. Danny talks about becoming a teacher someday. He says he wants to help people the way you helped him. That's the kind of legacy that matters. Sarah watched Danny laugh as he raced another child across the testing floor. Both of them in wheelchairs, both of them simply being kids. She thought about that quiet Wednesday afternoon, about a choice that had seemed so simple at the time. You know what I've learned? She said softly. Kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up. It's about seeing someone who needs help and choosing to care. Michael nodded. And sometimes that one act of caring can change everything. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, Sarah felt a deep sense of contentment. She'd found her calling not in spite of that $7 repair job, but because of it. Because sometimes the smallest acts of grace open the biggest doors, and the measure of our lives isn't in what we accomplish for ourselves, but in how we lift up others along the way. Danny rolled over, his face glowing with pride. Sarah! Mr. Johnson wants to order 50 of these for his school district. Sarah knelt down, meeting those bright, hopeful eyes that had started it all. That's wonderful, Danny. 50 more kids who'll have chairs that work right. 50 more kids who'll feel what you felt, independent and capable. All because you cared, Danny said simply. No, Sarah corrected gently. All because you had the courage to ask for help. You taught me that day, too. As Danny rolled away to continue testing, Michael stood beside Sarah. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me the chance to be the father I should have been all along. Sarah smiled. We all deserve second chances. That's what Danny taught me. And in that moment, surrounded by the whir of wheels and the laughter of children, Sarah understood that the best journeys in life often begin with a single step, or in this case, a single turn of a wheel and a heart willing to care.